You ever noticed how one little thing can flip your whole day like completely on its head? Like one skip workout, one off-plan meal, and suddenly you're convinced that you've ruined everything for the week. If that sounds familiar, you're exactly where you need to be today. I've worked with hundreds of women in perimenopause and menopause, and women who are strong as hell. They're high achieving, they're caretakers, they're big hearted, they're resilient, but who are exhausted from one thing: living in the constant pressure of being perfect or feeling like a total failure. So, doing everything or doing nothing, being on track or completely falling off the rails, feeling powerful on Monday morning and defeated by Thursday night. And here's the thing: the all or nothing mindset is destroying more progress than your hormones, your age, your metabolism, or any busy schedule ever will. And if you don't learn how to break it, not temporarily, but permanently, you will keep restarting every Monday for the rest of your life. But that cycle ends today. So before we dive deep, I'd like to introduce myself to those of you who are new. I am Coach Chelsea Ray, and I'm a women's metabolic health and strength specialist, and I help women over 40, women just like you, to rebuild their metabolism, gain strength, lose stubborn belly fat, and finally feel at home in their bodies again. But more importantly, I help women to unlearn all the crap that diet culture has taught us. I help women to stop abandoning themselves every time that life gets hard. And I help women to understand their bodies, their hormones, their emotions, and their patterns so they can actually trust themselves again. And I can promise you this: if you do not fix your all or nothing mindset, you won't just struggle with weight loss. You're going to struggle with your confidence, with consistency, with believing that you're capable, with enjoying your life without guilt, with ever feeling truly free. So today we're going to fix that. Not by trying harder, but by thinking differently. So let's dive in. So settle in, take a breath, let your shoulders drop, okay? Because today we're going to talk about something that doesn't just affect your weight loss goals, it affects your confidence, your energy, your relationships, your ability to trust yourself, your sense of success, your mental health, your day-to-day decisions, and your entire identity. And that's the all or nothing mindset. So I'm going to be really honest with you. This mindset is one of the biggest, loudest, sneakiest reasons that women over 40 stay stuck in the same cycle year after year. And it's not because you're weak or lazy or unmotivated or not disciplined enough. The truth is, you've never been taught what consistency actually looks like for the life that you're living right now. A life with hormonal shifts, unpredictable energy, more responsibilities, more stress, more aches and pains and inflammation, a slower recovery rate, and a metabolism that no longer responds to the old tricks like it used to. Your life has changed, your body has changed, your stress load has changed, but your expectations for yourself, they're still based on that 25-year-old version of you, and that is where the all or nothing mindset starts. So today I'm going to show you how to break this pattern permanently. Not with willpower, not with strict rules, not with trying harder, but with understanding, awareness, behavior change, and the skill of flexibility. Because yes, this is a skill, and like any skill, you can learn it and you can master it. So let's talk about where this mindset actually comes from, especially for women over 40. Okay, this is not just a personality thing. This is a conditioning, psychology, and survival wiring in our brain. So number one, we were raised in the era of extreme dieting, right? The 90s and early 2000s gave us low fat everything, 1,200 calorie diets, the Special K diet, Slim Fast, meal replacement bars, Atkins, detox teas, and magazines on every shelf that told us literally lose 10 pounds in a week, right? We saw that everywhere. And you were taught that success only comes from restriction and failure comes when we have any kind of form of indulgence. And it's no wonder your brain now thinks one bad moment ruins everything. Number two, women were rewarded for shrinking and disciplining themselves, right? You were praised for being good or eating clean or losing weight, drinking water instead of wine, saying no to dessert, pushing through the exhaustion, and putting yourself last. and you were judged for anything outside those lines, right? This really started to shape your self-worth. So if you've linked being healthy with being perfect, you will naturally panic the second that you're not perfect. Number 3, perimenopause and menopause change how your brain handles stress, literally. This is where the science matters, okay? So as estrogen drops, cortisol becomes more reactive. Your anxiety increases, your emotional resilience dips, and the prefrontal cortex, this is your decision-making part of the brain, it gets overwhelmed faster. And the amygdala in our brain, this is like your fear alarm section, it fires more quickly. And so this means you're more sensitive to stress, including internal pressures about your weight and your habits. So when you think, I messed up, it feels way bigger. It feels way scarier and more emotionally charged. And nothing's wrong with you. It's really your hormones that are amplifying your emotions. Number 4, your nervous system has learned that rigidity feels safer than flexibility. So when life gets chaotic and stressful and unpredictable, your nervous system, it craves structure, like extreme structure. So your brain tells you, if I can't do all the steps, it's not worth doing any of them. Rigidity feels like control, right? So even though it's actually sabotaging you. Number 5 is you don't see yourself with compassion, but you give it freely to everybody else, right? A woman over 40 is often the caretaker, the glue, the organizer, the emotional support, the problem solver, the calm in the storm. And you give everyone else space to be human, but you don't give it to yourself. So what does the all or nothing actually look like? I want you to hear these scenarios and see which one hits home most for you. And maybe it's a couple of them, but you start fresh every Monday. Okay, it feels productive, but it's actually a delay tactic because perfection didn't happen. How about one untracked meal turns into a whole untracked weekend? This one's classic, like the whole I already messed up, might as well keep going, right? Okay. If you can't do the full workout, you skip it entirely. Even though like 10, 15 minutes would have moved your metabolism, helped your joints, and boosted your mood. How about this one? You're either hyper disciplined or completely checked out. There's no middle gear. You're either tracking every gram or not tracking at all. You're working out 5 days a week or 0. You're drinking a gallon of water or realizing that you haven't sipped anything in 6 hours. And it's exhausting being stuck between 2 extremes. Or maybe you define success emotionally and not objectively. So you feel like you failed, so you don't even look at what actually went well for the day. Or you give up the moment that progress slows. Okay, all or nothing thinkers interpret slow progress as it's not working, I messed up, something's wrong with me, I'm failing, when in reality, slow progress is the only kind that sticks after 40, ladies. So be patient. You tie your identity to outcomes. How does this sound familiar? Like, I hit my macros, I'm good. Well, I missed my protein, I'm bad. Does that sound familiar? This is why you feel emotionally wiped out by the end of every week, and you're measuring your worth, not your habits. So let's jump in a little deeper into the brain science of that all or nothing thinking, because this part is really important. When you understand your brain, you stop blaming yourself. So your brain, like I said before, it loves efficiency, right? It wants shortcuts. It wants patterns and simplification. Black and white thinking, it saves mental energy. And so in our brain, perfection equals safety. So your brain falsely believes that if I'm perfect, nothing can go wrong. So when you're imperfect, your brain triggers a stress response, not because the action mattered, but because it threatened the illusion of safety. So your amygdala magnifies those mistakes, especially during hormonal transition. Your emotional brain reacts more intensely to errors. Okay, your prefrontal cortex tires faster. So decision fatigue is higher, which means you lose steam quicker, you give into that all or nothing faster, and you default to your old patterns a lot sooner. So it's not something that we have as a flaw. It's literally biology. Shame shuts down behavior change. So research shows that shame decreases motivation and increases avoidance and leads to impulsive choices. And this is why the more you beat yourself up, the worse your habits are actually going to become. Dopamine plays a role too. So dopamine loves instant gratification, right? That quick weight loss, that big dramatic changes, or feeling on track, that achievement-based identity. Slow, steady, sustainable progress, it produces smaller dopamine hits, which means it feels less exciting at first. And that's why early weeks of lifestyle change can feel like mentally harder. So understanding this makes it easier to stay consistent. So the fix, I want to give you a 4-phase framework in order to break the all or nothing mindset. So we're going to dive deeper into the 4 areas that I just mentioned with some emotional tools, some behavior strategies, and some real life examples. Okay. So phase 1 is to separate your self-worth from your performance. This is foundational. Women over 40 often link worth to their productivity, their weight, their discipline, how much they hold it together. But your habits are behaviors, not personality traits. You can change your behaviors. You don't have to completely change who you are. Okay. I want you to exercise the best friend mirror. So I want you to think of a situation where you felt like you failed, okay? Maybe you overate at night, you skipped a workout, you went off plan, you gained a little weight. So imagine your best friend telling you the same story. What would you say to her? It'd probably be something like, oh girl, you're human. That's not failure. Just keep going, right? Now, do you talk to yourself the same way? I want you to give that same energy to you, to yourself. Okay. So here's a few mantras to retrain your brain. And I want you to write these down and try saying them to yourself daily. Okay. My worth is not measured in my macros. One imperfect moment does not define my week. I can be proud and imperfect. Consistency matters more than perfection. My value is permanent, not earned. So these mantras can really help you retain your inner critic. Phase 2, use the word and instead of or. So this is where the emotional shift happens. The all or nothing uses or thinking. So things like I'm good or bad, or I'm on track or I'm off, or I'm healthy or I'm unhealthy. And creates room for reality, right? Humanity even. So examples could be like, I ate a balanced breakfast and I ended the night with chips. I had a stressful day and I still drank water. I've been consistent and I'm struggling right now. I want to lose weight and enjoy pizza with my family. I'm working on myself and still learning. And releases the shame and builds flexibility and supports long-term consistency. So this one tool alone can completely change your self-talk. So next, phase 3, focusing on micro wins. So micro wins are the backbone of sustainable transformation. So here's some research-backed info on why macro wins matter, okay? So the studies show that they build dopamine gradually, which improves your motivation. They reduce overwhelm, they create identity change, they rewire the brain's reward center, and they make consistency feel emotionally satisfying. So here's some examples of micro wins that sometimes we overlook, okay? Things like drinking water before coffee, or hitting 70 grams of protein when you used to hit 30, getting a walk in, doing like a 15-minute workout, okay, lifting heavy, choosing fruit instead of skipping lunch, logging your food even if it wasn't perfect, eating mindfully 1 out of 3 meals. These are all not small, okay? They're everything. They really start to accumulate. So women over 40 do not need a perfect week to see results. You need repeated micro wins. You need a regulated nervous system, enough protein, better sleep, walking, strength training, stress management, and consistency over intensity. This is the new formula. Phase 4, explore your emotional patterns and your self-worth. So this is the part that no diet ever teaches, but every woman needs. So I want to give you some reflection questions to write down. So what are my core values? So examples could be like integrity, health, family, joy, strength, peace, freedom. Okay, what are your core values? And are your choices reflecting those values? Are the choices I'm making today reflecting on who and what I want at my core? Okay. Next one. What emotions am I feeling today? Most women feel overwhelmed, guilty, tired, hopeful, worried, excited, anxious. So you don't have to choose just one. You're allowed all of them. But what are you feeling today? Okay. Next question. What story am I telling myself? I failed. It's not working fast enough. I'm not good at this. I'll never get there. I want you to challenge what you're thinking. Is it indeed a fact or is it a feeling? Next one. What are the pros and cons of this decision? Not from a punishment standpoint, but from curiosity. Okay, this opens up that gray area. So when you understand your emotional patterns, you stop self-sabotage before it even starts. And this is the difference between a woman who stays stuck and the woman who succeeds long term. So let's bring it all together. All right, ladies, everything that we talked about today leads to one undeniable truth. You're not failing because you're inconsistent. You're inconsistent because you believe you have to be perfect. And perfection was never the assignment. Not for your metabolism, not for your hormones, not for your mental health, and definitely not for the life that you're building. The women who succeed, the women who change their bodies, their confidence, their habits, and their identity are not the women who do everything right. They're the women who stop quitting when things go wrong. They're the women who learn to live in the gray area. They're the women who choose progress over punishment. They are the women who decide that a 6 out of 10 effort still counts. It's still a win. And they're the women who show up imperfectly, but consistently. And you can be that too. In fact, it will be you as soon as you decide that failing isn't the problem. Quitting is. So as you log off today, I just want you to remember that your worth is not up for negotiation. Your progress is not erased by one imperfect moment. Your journey is not ruined by one choice. Your power is not tied to your perfection. You're allowed to be human. You're allowed to try again. You're allowed to grow slowly. You're allowed to take up space. And you're allowed to succeed without punishing yourself. And you're capable of things that you haven't even seen yet. So today is not about being perfect. Today is about choosing yourself in the gray, in the messy middle, in the human moments, and refusing to walk away this time. Your next level requires you to stay, to keep going, to keep showing up for you. And I am just honored to walk beside you while you do it.